April. 3 names Aunt Penelope said when I emailed her and told her to guess who fell into the giant hole. Annie, Annie, Annie. Yes, it was me. I was still a little annoyed that Aunt Pen was so sure of herself, though. My pet peeves. 1. Ted's drumming. 2. People dotting their I's with circles or hearts. I think that's it. Maybe I'll have more when I'm older. 5 things I learned about the giant hole. 1. It's been in the fork of the Sutter's wide driveway for years, ever since the town of Clover Gap used it as an access point for some underground water main repairs. 2. Mr. and Mrs. Sutter wanted to have it filled in a long time ago, but their kids, who are now in college, had already created the ride past the hole and see if you can touch the pole without falling in game. So they, the kids, talked them out of it. 3. It actually is pretty giant. I mean, my bike and my whole body both fit into it, and the ground was still about a foot above my head. 4. The walls of the giant hole are concrete, and lots of people have declared their love in graffiti there. Lots of people have drawn some pretty gross pictures there, too. 5. Lucky for me, there are metal rungs on one wall so I could climb out. 3 bad things that came from me falling into the hole. 1. Split and bloody lip, which luckily did not require stitches. 2. Ripped jeans. 3. Zora had to go back to both of our houses and get Ted and Marcus because we couldn't get my bike out of the hole ourselves. It was in pretty deep, and I wasn't much help since I was holding a tissue against my lip to get it to stop bleeding. Zora decided it was a 3-person job, but we knew Ted and Marcus would laugh. 3 unsurprising things that Ted and Marcus did when they got to the hole. 1. Laughed. A lot. 2. Asked us what we would give them if they rescued the bike. Answer: 2 items of their choosing out of our secret candy stashes. 3. Acted real tough and strong when they were able to lift out the bike. 3 surprising things that Ted and Marcus did when they got to the hole. 1. Gave me a tissue to stop my lip from bleeding. Ted. 2. Checked my bike for dings and scratches. Marcus. 3. Started talking to each other about drumming. Ted and Marcus had met before and kind of grunted at each other in that way that boys do. But this time, Marcus noticed Ted's drumsticks sticking out of his back jeans pocket, and he asked him about his drums. Since Ted could talk forever about his drums, and Marcus is really into music, they didn't pay any attention to Zora and me after that, which was fine with us. 3 things that were different at dinner that night. 1. Dad seemed happier. He said wildflowers were starting to bloom in the median on one of the new stretches of highway he was working on. He hummed while he set the table, and he was full of ideas for the yard: bird feeders, hammocks, etc. He also said Zora's dad was going to lend him a chainsaw so he could cut back some dead branches on our maple tree. Dad was excited about this. Mom looked nervous. 2. I could only eat mashed potatoes and applesauce because my lip was so banged up. 3. Ted was super chatty. 4 things Ted told us about Marcus. 1. Marcus is a really good guitar player. Ted heard him play the national anthem in a pep rally at school. 2. Marcus wants to start a band. 3. They need a drummer. 4. Marcus said Ted can play for them in their garage this weekend to see if they can jam. 2 emails in my inbox that night. 1 from Aunt Pen, asking how I was recovering from my bike ride into the hole. 1 from Millie, almost 2 months after I had last emailed her, saying just the following. A. That's a crazy story about your dad's job. B. Even crazier about your pencil mark. C. Gotta go. I'm going to the movies with Juliet and Charlotte. Hardly the shocked reaction I was expecting. Instead, it was my turn to be shocked. She took 2 months to respond to me, and she was going to the movies with Juliet and Charlotte? Charlotte Devlin, my 2nd grade peanut butter cracker nemesis? 3 things I wrote back to Millie right away. 1. Wow, I was starting to think you'd forgotten about me. 2. What movie are you seeing? 3. Are you going with Charlotte Devlin? I wasn't going to say more than that. Not yet. Maybe it wasn't Charlotte Devlin. I didn't know any other Charlottes in Brooklyn, but it was certainly possible there was a Brooklyn Charlotte I'd never met. It was a pretty popular name, after all. So I would wait for Millie's response. I didn't want to start a fight. 2 fights I'm trying to forget. 1, Zora's fight with Amelia. 2, Zach and Charlie's fight immediately following it. Why Zora fought with Amelia. 1, at lunch the day before the giant hole accident, Amelia asked what happened to my lip. 2, I told her about riding my bike into the hole. 3, Amelia laughed and said, "Serves you right. I can't believe you guys still do that anyway." 4 things that happened next. 1, Zora slammed down her thermos and said, "Amelia, what's your problem?" 2, Amelia said she didn't have a problem, and then added, "But obviously you guys do if you still ride your bikes in circles and play that game with the hole like you're second graders." 3, Zora got quiet for a minute. Then she said, "Amelia, you're just jealous because you still don't even know how to ride a bike." 4, Amelia's eyes filled with tears as she grabbed her lunchbox and ran from the cafeteria. Why Zach fought with Charlie. 1, after Amelia ran out, Zach said, "What do you have to say that for, Zora? You know she's embarrassed that she can't ride a bike. That's supposed to be a secret." 2, then Charlie jumped in. "Leave her alone, Zach. Amelia started it." 3, Zach said, "Ugh, Charlie, you're just taking Zora's side because you have a crush on her." 5 things that happened next. 1, Charlie slugged Zach in the arm. 2, Zach slugged Charlie back. 3, Charlie tackled Zach to the floor. From that point on, it was hard to tell what was happening, but there was definitely lots of punching and kicking. 5, Miss T, one of the lunch aides, pulled them apart and sent them to the assistant principal. 4 things to know about Mr. Hoover, the assistant principal. 1, he never talks unless he absolutely has to, and he has a really deep voice. 2, he's big. Big meaning tall, but also meaning he has a belly that is so big that the kids joke that his neckties are parallel to the ground. 3, he is in charge of discipline at the school. 4, if you get called to his office, it almost always means you're in trouble. So imagine everyone's surprise when the school secretary came on over the intercom and asked for me to come to Mr. Hoover's office. I think the class's exact words were, "Ooh, Annie's in trouble." 3 things Mr. Hoover asked when I got to his office. 1, are you friends with Zach and Charlie? Answer, yes. 2, did you see their fight in the cafeteria? Answer, yes. 3, can you please tell me everything you remember that happened? Answer, okay. What I actually remember that happened, everything, of course, in addition to what happened between Zora and Amelia. I also remember that Zach defended Amelia, Charlie defended Zora, Charlie threw the first punch, Zach was kind of asking for it, Charlie actually does have a crush on Zora, Zora kept yelling, "Guys, guys!" the whole time. Charlie's potato chips fell to the floor, Zach put his elbow in some applesauce, Zach's Darth Vader shirt got ripped. Both boys cursed. You get the picture. I remembered a lot, as usual. What I told Mr. Hoover I remembered. Charlie and Zach got into a fight. I don't know who started it. Why I'm trying to forget these fights. 1, Charlie and Zach are my friends. 2, even if they weren't, I can't see what good it would do any of us if I told Mr. Hoover all the detailed ways they broke the school rules. 3, the Zora-Amelia fight made me feel pretty icky. I'm glad Zora didn't stand for Amelia making fun of us, but I was tired of her being so mean in the first place. 4, I'm sticking with my plan to pretend I don't remember stuff and keep my mouth shut. Those 2 fights broke out because Zora blabbed that Amelia couldn't ride a bike, and Zach blabbed that Charlie had a crush on Zora. No good can come from speaking up like that. Besides, after all that happened with Mr. Lawrence in Brooklyn, I have learned my lesson about saying too much in principals' offices. 3 news bulletins on the Mr. Albright, Nurse Taylor situation. 1, after Charlie and Zach visited Mr. Hoover, they went to Nurse Taylor so she could bandage up their scrapes. Then Nurse Taylor walked them back to the classroom herself. This is unusual. She usually lets kids make their own way back, especially 5th graders. 2, Mr. Albright gave Zach and Charlie a serious look as they walked to their desks. Then he went and talked to Nurse Taylor for a few minutes. There was lots of smiling, even some laughing. 3. Everyone else was still staring at Charlie and Zach, but I noticed that Mr. Albright's face looked a little pink and that he was still smiling as he turned away from the door and told us to take out our math workbooks. 4 unsurprising things Mom said when I got home from school. 1. How was your day? 2. How's your lip? 3. Don't forget to clean out your lunchbox. 4. How much homework do you have? One surprising thing Mom said when I got home from school. I got a call from Mr. Hoover's secretary today telling me that it's a school policy to let parents know when students are called to the principal's office and that you had to go see him to talk about an incident you witnessed. Do you want to tell me what happened? My response? Not really. But Mom wasn't having it. 9 questions Mom had about my visit to Mr. Hoover. 1. Why did you have to go see him? 2. Why did Zach and Charlie fight? 3. Who threw the first punch? 4. Why was Charlie defending Zora? 5. Why were Zora and Amelia arguing? Really, so many questions. 6. What did Mr. Hoover say when you told him all of this? For about 2 seconds, I debated lying to Mom. It would have been so easy to make something up. But as much as I can pretend to be someone else to the rest of the world, a kid who doesn't notice much, a kid who doesn't remember little details, a kid who just blends in and hangs out, I can't pretend that with Mom. She just knows me too well. So I took a deep breath and said, I didn't tell him any of it, and braced myself for the next round of questions. 7. Wait, what? What did you tell him instead? 8. Why didn't you tell the truth? 9. They should be able to count on you to report on things like this. Don't they know what a great memory you have? 3 things I finally told Mom. 1. No, they don't know what a great memory I have, and I want to keep it that way. 2. I hate my memory. It's embarrassing, and it only gets me into trouble. It got me kicked out of school in Brooklyn. 3. I can never fix the problems my memory caused, but at least I can keep it under wraps here in Clover Gap. 3 faces Mom made then. Confused, sad, sadder. 4 confidences Mom laid on me then. 1. You did not do anything wrong in Brooklyn. 2. Dad and I should not have put you in a position where you had to keep our address secret. 3. I have been feeling guilty about that every day. 4. You are like me. You dwell on things that have gone wrong. 2 pieces of wisdom from Mom. 1. Everyone makes mistakes, including me, as you've learned. 2. You shouldn't hide the person you are from your new friends. You have a lot of fun, funny, wise, and important things to say. And you have a beautiful memory. 3 helpful tricks Mr. Albright taught us to make adding fractions easy. Sorry, I can't report on these because I didn't pay attention. Good luck the next time you try to add fractions. 4 things I was actually paying attention to instead. 1. A spider on the ceiling. 2. Louis, the kid who sits beside me drawing a bird. 3. The way Mr. Albright ended almost every sentence with, okay? 4. Amelia and Zora passing notes whenever Mr. A turned around. Then Zora leaned over to me and whispered that she'd thought of a way to make her and Amelia get along again. And you're part of it, she said, like I should be honored. 4 things my parents still don't know. 1. Every day I throw away the carrot sticks Mom puts in my lunchbox. 2. When I'm alone in my room, I make faces at myself in the mirror to see how pretty, ugly, scary, or old I can look. 3. When I shoot baskets in our backyard, I quietly sing songs that I make up as I go along. 4. Zora has proposed that she, Kate, Amelia, and I become blood sisters. 2 reasons Zora wants to become blood sisters. 1. She read about it in a book and thought it sounded cool. Basically, you prick your finger with a pin and hold your finger against your friend's bloody fingers, and your blood will mix and make you secret sisters. 2. She's hoping it will make us all get along better. 2 reasons I predict this will not go well. 1. Kate thinks the idea is bonkers and says we can get diseases. 2. Amelia, as I learned during my pencil lead incident, is terrified of blood. 3 directions Zora gave in the secret note she passed us about the Blood Sisters meeting. 1. Meet at Pond Fort today at 3:30. 2. Bring a safety pin. I'll test everyone's pin and use the sharpest one. 3. Keep this a secret. I'll bring the Band-Aids. 3 things Zora brought to the Blood Sisters ceremony: a safety pin, a box of Band-Aids, a tomato. 7 things that happened before I shut down the whole production. 1. Zora welcomed us to the blood ceremony and asked us to sit down. 2. At the word blood, Amelia turned a shade paler. 3. Zora asked us to pass her our safety pins. 4. Amelia's hand was trembling as she passed hers over. 5. Zora opened the first safety pin, drew back her hand, and jammed the point into the tomato as hard as she could. 6. Tomato juice shot out and squirted Amelia in the eye. 7. Amelia screamed, covered her eye, and lay back on the pine needles. 2 things on my mind at that moment. 1. Blood makes Amelia throw up. 2. Amelia doesn't want anyone to know that blood makes her throw up. 4 things I did to deflect everyone's attention. 1. Grabbed the tomato from Zora and threw it in the pond. 2. Said, I thought I saw a worm in that tomato. 3. Put my finger to my lips and said, be quiet for a second. 4. Whispered, did you guys hear that? Do you think that was a bear? 3 more things that brought the ceremony to a speedy end. 1. Amelia said, maybe it was a bear. 2. Kate said, there's no bear. Let's do something else. This is kind of dumb. 3. Zora said, what the heck did you guys throw the tomato for, Annie? And before I could answer, she sighed and added, I'm going home. Amelia said, wait, I'll come with you. 2 questions Kate asked me after they left. 1. Why'd you really throw that tomato? Answer, I didn't think anyone wanted to do the Blood Sister ceremony, and I was trying to get us out of it. I still didn't say anything about Amelia's fear of blood. 2. Why didn't you just say that sooner? Answer, I didn't want to make Zora mad. Kate admitted that I was right, that Zora was the only one who wanted to do it. I think we should have told Zora that, she said. I didn't say anything. I thought she might be right, but I didn't know how to do it. And what I'd said was true. I didn't want to make Zora or anyone mad. Throwing tomatoes was about as brave as I could be for now. 5 things I hope I'm brave enough to try someday. 1. Hot air ballooning. 2. Riding a donkey to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. 3. Swimming with dolphins. 4. Flying a helicopter. 5. Traveling to outer space. 3 people I had emails from that night. 1. Grandma Rose with a collection of cute kitten pictures someone had forwarded her. 2. Aunt Pen with a list of fun things we could do at the beach this summer. 3. Kate with a corny joke about a mama and a baby tomato. 1 person I did not have an email from that night, Millie. She still hadn't responded to my email asking about Charlotte Devlin, which was pretty much leading me to one conclusion. Charlotte must be her NBF. 3 answers I gave the next day when Amelia stopped me in the bathroom at school and asked, why did you really throw that tomato? 1. I didn't want to do the blood ceremony. 2. I knew no one else did either. 3. You don't have to admit it, and I still won't tell, but I know blood makes you sick. 1 thing Amelia said then that kind of shocked me. Thank you. 4 things I did later in the day when Zora cornered me on the playground and asked why I threw the tomato. 1. Took a deep breath. 2. Said, I didn't see a worm. Zora, I know. 3. Added, or hear a bear. Zora, I know. 4. Blurted out, I knew no one but you wanted to do the Blood Sisters thing, but I think everyone was afraid to tell you they didn't like your idea. 4 things Zora did in response. 1. Narrowed her eyes for just a second. 2. Sighed. Again. 3. Said, you guys should have just said so. 4. Asked if I wanted to go jump rope. 5 things I thought about for the rest of the day. 1. I disagreed with someone, and she didn't stop being my friend. 2. The person I stood up to was brave and popular, and still, she didn't stop being my friend. 3. Amelia seemed to dislike me a little less. 4. You aren't exactly blending in when you speak up the way I did. But what if it's okay not to just blend in all the time? 5. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe I should start trying to use my voice. May. 3 options I had for last Friday night. 1. Stay home and watch a movie with Mom and Dad. Ted was hanging out with Marcus. He aced the audition and got picked as drummer in Marcus's band. Now they practice whenever someone's parents will let them. 2. Stay home and fall asleep reading a book in my room. 3. Go to a slumber party for Amelia's birthday. 3 reasons this was a hard choice for me. 1. Fear of saying something dumb at Amelia's. 2. Distaste for slumber party games. 3. Confusion over being invited to the party because I still wasn't sure how much the hostess liked me. But maybe, just maybe, she was softening a little after I saved her from the safety pin bloodbath. 3 reasons I decided to go to the party anyway. 1. Mom and Dad chose 2001: A Space Odyssey for their Friday movie night. Snorburger. 2. Zora promised me it would be fun. 3. Zora told me Amelia's house was awesome. 7 things I noticed about Amelia's house. 1. There are Doritos and sodas in the pantry, and you don't need to ask permission to have them. 2. Amelia has a TV in her room. 3. The bedspread, curtains, and rug in her bedroom all match. 4. Amelia's artwork is all framed. 5. There's a huge oil portrait of Amelia in the living room. 6. There are 2 stairwells, one from the foyer to the upstairs hallway, and one from the kitchen to Amelia's closet. 7. Amelia's closet is bigger than my bedroom was in Brooklyn. 5 guests at Amelia's sleepover. Me, Zora, Kate, Amelia's neighbor Kaya, who's a grade behind us in school, and Amelia's cousin Hope, age 12. 4 reasons I found Hope a little intense. 1. She was amazingly comfortable around Amelia's parents. I know they are her aunt and uncle, but she talked to them like she was a grown-up too, like, Aunt Connie, I love your new curtains, and Uncle Doug, how is your job? That sort of thing. 2. As soon as the adults weren't around, she cursed a lot. Like a sailor, as my grandma Elaine would say. 3. When Kaya told her she liked her earrings, she said, Thank you, they're real diamonds. 4. She said Truth or Dare was boring, and that we should just play Dare. 12 things that happened during our game of Dare. 1. We pulled names out of a hat to see who would dare whom. Whom, again, Mr. A. 2. I got Kaya and dared her to drink a mixture of Sprite, Dr. Pepper, and Coke. She did it. 3. Kaya got Amelia and dared her to drink a mixture of milk and orange juice. She did. 4. Amelia got Kate and dared her to drink the juice of 2 lemons. Kate squeezed the lemons into a glass and drank the juice. 5. Kate got Zora and dared her to write something on the bathroom mirror in lipstick. That one would have made me nervous, but Zora just laughed and wrote, Happy birthday, Amelia, in big letters across the whole mirror. 6. Zora got Hope and dared her to stick her hand in a bowl of ice water for 2 minutes. Hope rolled her eyes and did it. 7. Hope got me. 8. Hope looked at me, tilted her head to the side, and thought for a minute. I dare you to take something from Doug and Connie's bedroom and bring it downstairs. 9. I thought, who the heck are Doug and Connie? Then I remembered those were Amelia's parents' names. 10. I said, do you think you could give me another dare? I don't want to wake them up. 11. If you're quiet, you won't, Hope answered. You seem like you're pretty good at being quiet. 12. I waited for someone to back me up on this being a ridiculous idea. No one did. 25 things that happened upstairs at Amelia's. 1. I crept up the stairs hallway as quietly as I could. 2. I saw Amelia's parents' bedroom door at the end of the hallway waiting for me. 3. About 5 different scenarios involving scary things hiding behind doors popped into my head. 4. I looked to my left and noticed Amelia's bedroom door standing open. 5. I thought, do I really have to go into their bedroom? I bet I can find something that belongs to them in Amelia's room. 6. I went into Amelia's room and started quietly looking around, thinking that surely Amelia had borrowed something from her mom. Some makeup, maybe, or a book. 7. I looked on her bookshelf, and one title caught my eye. It was A and Z, grades K to 3. 8. I took the book down and saw that it was a photo album. It was filled with pictures of Amelia and Zora from kindergarten to, you guessed it, 3rd grade. The pictures were really cute and smiley. I suddenly missed Millie so much that my stomach hurt. 9. I heard a noise in the doorway. It was Hope. "What are you doing in here?" she hissed. "Your dare was to get something from their room," she reminded me as she pointed down the hallway. 10. I quickly put the photo album back on the shelf where I had found it. 11. I tiptoed down the hall to the master bedroom where the door was open a little. 12. Figuring maybe I didn't have to go the whole way into the room, I slipped my arm inside and started feeling around for something to take. 13. Crash! I knocked something over. 14. The smell of roses filled the air. 15. Someone said, "What the?" And Amelia's dad came running to the door, his eyes bleary. 16. "Annie, is everything okay?" he asked. 17. "Yes," I said. "Well, I just needed to borrow something from your room." 18. Just then I saw what I had knocked over. It was a bottle of Amelia's mother's perfume, and it was spilling all over the dresser. 19. Amelia's dad asked, "What do you need to borrow?" 20. I quickly righted the perfume bottle and answered, "This. I needed to borrow this." 21. Amelia's dad sighed and said, "Let me guess. Hope put you up to this?" 22. I looked behind me, and Hope had disappeared. I wondered how he knew. 23. "Here," he said, handing me a bottle of lotion instead. "This one won't spill. Will it do?" 24. "Yes," I whispered. "Thank you very much." 25. "Good night, Annie," he said, and he closed the door all the way this time. I turned and ran down the stairs thinking that I had just gotten a new, most embarrassing moment. 4 ways Hope took over the rest of the party. 1. She told all of us where we should put our sleeping bags. 2. She made a point of saying Amelia should be near the bathroom so she doesn't wet the bed. At this, Amelia looked mortified and said, "Hope, I do not wet the bed." Hope just smirked. 3. She announced that we would play light as a feather and that she would be the person leading the chant every time. 4. She scared us all into staying awake crazy late by saying that the first one to fall asleep would wake up with a Sharpie mustache. As it turned out, Hope was the first one to fall asleep. She didn't seem very concerned that anyone was going to draw on her with Sharpie, and no one did. 5 things people said about Hope after she fell asleep. 1. Zora. "Amelia, why do you let her boss you around so much?" 2. Amelia. "It's not a big deal. She's my cousin. I like her." 3. Zora. "I don't think I'd like her very much if I were you. If someone bossed me around that much, I would say something." 4. Me. "It's not always easy to speak up like that, especially when you think someone's scary." 5. Amelia. "I'm not scared of her, Annie. Maybe you are. You're the one who took that stupid dare from her." Well, she was right about one thing. I did think Hope was a little scary. Up until then, I had been feeling kind of bad for Amelia. I could see she might have bigger problems than chipped nail polish and hexagonal pencils. But it's hard to keep feeling sympathy for someone who can be so nasty. I was glad when Amelia's mom came downstairs and said, "Lights out, ladies." 3 things that changed at school after Amelia's slumber party. 1. Kate started calling me Rose because that was the scent of the perfume I spilled. 2. Amelia started making room for me at lunch and looking at me, instead of just at Zora, Zach, and Charlie when she told a story. 3. I stopped writing from A to Z on my notes to Zora. After I found that photo album in Amelia's room, it occurred to me that she thought of herself as the original A to Zora's Z. I didn't want her to accuse me of trying to take over. 3 reasons I didn't email Millie to tell her about the slumber party. 1, she doesn't know any of the kids here, so it would take a long time to explain everything. 2, because she doesn't know anyone here, she might not really get the stories anyway. 3, she still hasn't emailed me back since she said she was going to the movies with Juliet and Charlotte. 4 possible reasons Millie has not emailed me since then. 1, maybe while she was at the movies, someone broke into her apartment and stole her family's computer. 2, maybe the movie theater floor was so dirty that her feet are still stuck to it. 3, maybe the theater was actually a secret portal to Narnia. 4, maybe Millie is best friends with Juliet and Charlotte now, and she doesn't need me anymore. 1 new word I learned the day after the slumber party. Kerning. After I put away my pillow and my sleeping bag, I grabbed a snack and started doing my hovering bit with Mom while she worked in her office. She almost never used to work on Saturdays, but now she does. Who am I to turn down an extra assignment? Mom was fiddling with a word on her computer screen for a really long time. She would click on it, press some buttons, click on it again, press more buttons, and on and on. Every time she pressed buttons, the spaces between the characters would change a tiny bit, making the letters either closer together or farther apart. I asked Mom what she was doing, and she said, "It's called kerning. I'm making it so the letters aren't too close or too far apart, so that the word will look just right." 1 weird dream I had that night. A bunch of kids I knew, Zora, Kate, Amelia, Zach, Charlie, Ted, Marcus, Millie, Charlotte, and even the mysterious Juliet, were standing in a line. I was right in the middle, and we kept scooching closer together, then farther apart. Closer together, then farther apart. We were kerning, trying to get the spacing just right. 5 things I've heard about way more in Coalover Gap than I ever did in Brooklyn. Bicycles, kickball, deer droppings, clovers, trees. 8 things people here discuss about trees. 1, how old they are. 2, how big they are. 3, whether they have carpenter ants. 4, whether they have a tree disease. 5, whether they might fall in a storm. 6, which direction they would fall if they were to fall in a storm. 7, which tree guy to use to take care of them. When the weather started warming up, Mom said, "We have to find a tree guy." Ted and I asked, "Why do we need a tree guy?" Mom promised us we'd see soon enough. Surprisingly, Dad didn't say anything about money or offer to check the trees himself. I think his near fall from the roof humbled him a little. 8, what kind of animals might be living in the tree? For us, the answer to the last one was raccoons. 4 animals that scare me. Bears, of course, snakes, wasps, lice. 4 things the tree guy said when he came to check our giant oak tree. 1, the top half of that tree is hollow. 2, I could fit almost my whole body into it. 3, there's a family of raccoons living in there. 4, we have to take it down. The tree guy explained that the tree was weak because it was hollow, and if they didn't take it down the safe way, it could become down the dangerous way, like falling on our house during a storm. So we brought out a crew and they climbed the tree and cut it down bit by bit, using ropes to lower each section to the ground. It was pretty amazing to watch, but now the raccoons were homeless. 3 crazy things I've seen in the backyard since we moved here. 1, a squirrel fight. 2, flying turkeys. Who knew? 3, a coyote. Ted didn't see it and says it had to have been a dog. I know what I saw. 3 homes the raccoons' mama tried out after the tree came down. 1, our garbage cans, until Mom and Dad found a way to lock them closed. 2, the wood pile beside the porch, but this wasn't very private. 3, our basement window well. The window well is the one she settled on. There is a long wooden bench covering the window well that protects it from the rain, but left just enough of an opening for her to squeeze through with her babies, one by one. 3 things we learned after Dad called animal control and got connected to the town raccoon lady. 1, don't go near raccoons because their mama is very protective and she will try to attack you. 2, a raccoon with that many babies, 6, is probably an older mother. Poor thing, Mama said under her breath. 3, the animal control people will not move baby raccoons. If you wait a couple weeks, the mama will take them out on her own. This started the phenomenon that came to be known in our house as the Raccoon Aquarium. And of course, Ted thought that should be a band name. 6 amazing things about the Raccoon Aquarium. 1, we could stand on the old sofa in our basement and watch the raccoons through the window whenever we wanted. 2, there were 6 baby raccoons. We learned that they're called kits. 3, we got to watch them play. 4, we got to watch them nurse. 5, we sort of became neighborhood celebrities because everyone wanted to come see the raccoons. 6, Dad couldn't get enough of them. 5 ways we could tell that the raccoons were helping Dad warm up to Clover Gap. 1, he would stand on the sofa and watch them longer than anyone else. 2, the first thing he did every day when he got home from work was check on the kits. 3, he took about 100 pictures of them. 4, he also checked on them every night before he went to bed, and he would give Mom updates. I think he felt extra protective of the kits at night, because that was when the mama raccoon left to look for food. 5, he kept saying, "This never happened in Brooklyn." The third time he said that, I noticed Mom giving Ted a look to see what his reaction was, but he didn't really have one. I think Clover Gap was starting to grow on him, too. The raccoon family left after about 2 weeks, just like the raccoon lady said they would. The mama moved the babies out one by one, and Dad didn't leave the basement until they were all gone. He was especially worried about the last one, which sat in the window well all alone and mewed like a kitten until the mama returned. Late that night, I woke up to go to the bathroom and I had to wait in the hall while Mom and Dad finished brushing their teeth. I heard them talking about the raccoons. "They seem so cozy there," Dad said. "It was their home. How do they even know where they're supposed to go next?" "They needed room to grow," Mom said. "I think they'll figure it out. And eventually, they'll be cozy in their new home too, don't you think? I mean, we know a little something about that." Mom caught Dad's eye in the bathroom mirror. He stopped flossing for a second and smiled at her. "Yeah," he said. "I guess we do." Dad was a little mopey the next day, and pretty soon he started getting excited about other signs of spring in Clover Gap, like the baby deer we sometimes saw in the backyard, and the wild turkeys, and of course, the clovers.